بسم الله والحمد لله وصلى الله وسلم على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن اهتدى بهداه أما بعد. The author says رحمه الله تعالى ويجزئ في بول الغلام الذي لم يأكل الطعام النضح وكذلك المذي. Removing the impurity of urine from a male infant, so the baby boy, not the baby girl, just the baby boy, who has not yet started eating regular solid food out of desire, it's sufficient to sprinkle that area with water. Yeah, so it becomes wet, but not necessarily washed and soaked. So we have several points. The baby boy, his urine or his impurity can be cleaned by simply sprinkling water over that area. It doesn't actually need to be washed completely, because of the authentic hadith in the Sahihain, okay, in which the Messenger ﷺ distinguished between the urine of the baby boy and that of the baby girl. What's the reasoning behind it? Allah knows best. Some of the scholars have some suggestions as to what the reasoning behind that could mean, and it suffices us that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who only speaks the truth, said so. Okay, and so that's the case. It's the case that the baby boy's urine can be sprinkled with water over. Now, eating regular food, meaning out of desire, doesn't mean that just because he's once, as a one-off, ate something, he's no longer a baby boy. No. وكذلك المذي. Similarly, madhi being the liquid pre-seminal fluid, same ruling applies according to the author, meaning you can sprinkle water over it. Madhi is liquid that comes out due to sexual desire, sexual arousal. It's not mani, semen, that which comes out when having sexual intercourse, after sexual intercourse, but it's madhi. This is a lighter liquid, a thinner liquid than mani, and it comes out with touching and fondling and foreplay and kissing and that kind of stuff. This liquid comes out pre-seminal fluid. It comes out usually before sexual desire is completed. The author says it takes the same ruling, meaning you can sprinkle water over it. However, the sahih of the madhab is that it has to be washed also. It has to be washed, and that's the opinion of the majority of scholars. So Ibn Qudama says here, rahimahullah, it's sufficient to sprinkle, write as a note, and the madhab says washing it is wajib. Okay, the madhab says washing it is wajib. The opinion of the author is a second narration in the madhab, but the main authentic narration in the madhab is washing. So you have to wash madhi just as you have to wash everything else. Then he says rahimahullah ta'ala وَيُعْفَى عَنْ يَسِيرِهِ وَيَسِيرِ الدَّمْ وَمَا تَوَلَّدَ مِنْهُ مِنَ الْقَيْحِ وَنَحْوِهِ وَهُوَ مَا لَا يَفْحُشُ فِي النَّفْسِ. The author says rahimahullah, a trivial amount of madhi is excused, trivial, a small amount. Likewise, trivial amounts of blood and its byproducts, such as pus and other matter that's a sort of follow-up from blood and pus and so on, and things similar to that, are all exempt, meaning small amounts of these are exempt. If a person now has tiny amounts of blood on their clothing, they're exempt, and their salah would be valid. Praying like that would be valid. Yeah, praying with small amounts of pus, that would be valid also. And this is narrated from many of the companions. They would, for example, maybe pop a spot that they had or something in the middle of salah, or maybe there was slightly have some pus or blood coming out whilst in salah. Yeah, whilst in salah. Does it mean they're being occupied playing around with their spot as we see today? No. Okay, but it may happen, such as when they go down for sujood, for example, the spot might pop, or those sorts of things. Okay, those sorts of things. The point is, small amounts of blood are forgiven. Yeah, so you don't have to worry if you see a tiny amount of blood on you. It's not a big problem, and it doesn't affect the salah. It's forgiven. Large amounts, however, have to be washed. What's the difference? How do you know the difference between small and large? Each person to themselves. That's the madhab. Each person themselves. If you yourself look at this and say that's a small amount, it's a small amount. If you look at it and generally you say it's a large amount, then you need to wash it. It's as simple as that. There's no guideline according to the madhab. Then he says, rahimahullah, وَمَنِيُّ الْآدَمِي وَبَوْلُ مَا يُؤْكَلُ لَحْمُهُ طَاهِرٌ. The semen of a human being and the urine of animals whose flesh can be eaten is pure. Mani, like we said, which is semen, it's tahir according to the madhab, and this is narrated from Ibn Abbas and other scholars. It's tahir, it's pure. That doesn't mean it's recommended to keep on your clothing, or doesn't mean it shouldn't be washed, and it doesn't mean it's something you can eat, it doesn't mean and so on. But when we say it means it's pure, all it means is if you prayed like that, salah would be valid. Otherwise, any person in their right mind would wash such a thing. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to do. If it was on his clothing, he'd wash it off. Not because it's najis, but because it's not, it's not something pleasant. That's why. If a person had spit, for example, saliva on their clothing, it's tahir. All the scholars agree it's tahir. It doesn't mean you walk around with saliva dripping down your clothing. That would be considered disgusting. Okay, not because it's najis, but because it's not something pleasant. So you'd wash that off. Similarly, you wash off mani. وَبَوْلُ مَا يُؤْكَلُ لَحْمُهُ طَاهِرٌ. And the urine of animals whose flesh are permitted to eat are pure. Such as what? Such as a sheep. So the urine of a sheep is pure. The urine of a camel, the urine of a cow, these are pure. Okay, these are all pure. And again, we need to understand that something tahir doesn't necessarily always mean it's recommended to eat or drink and so on. No, it just means that it's pure. It's not filthy, number one, and number two, it's not something that invalidates your prayer. Okay, and still, once again, you should wash it, not because it's najis, but because it's not pleasant. And there are authentic narrations to indicate that. The author says, rahimahullah ta'ala, Babul Aniya, the chapter of vessels and utensils. لا يجوز استعمال آنية الذهب والفضة في طهارة ولا غيرها لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تشربوا في آنية الذهب والفضة ولا تأكلوا في صحافها فإنها لهم في الدنيا ولكم في الآخرة. And this hadith is in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The author says, rahimahullah, it's not lawful to use gold and silver vessels for purification or otherwise. Example, using it as storing it or using it as decoration. Gold and silver vessels are haram to use and to drink from and to make wudu from and so on. Why did the author talk about vessels in this chapter? Because that's where water is contained. Water needs a place to be contained. And of course, this is one of the places that water is contained. It's prohibited to use gold and silver containers, whether for eating, or whether for drinking, or whether for purification, or whether for wearing, or whether for as a pen, or as decoration, etc., etc. All of it is prohibited. Yeah. There are several exceptions. One of those exceptions is beautification for the woman. Beautification for a woman is an exception. The ring for a man is an exception. The silver ring for a man is an exception. Okay, it's not a sunnah in the madhab to wear a silver ring, but it's permissible, it's mubah. And so these are some exceptions. Otherwise, the general rule is it's prohibited. So a person doesn't go around wearing a gold tooth, for example, for no good reason. Similarly, a person doesn't carry a golden pen. Yeah? Or a person doesn't have golden cups and plates and so on. All of these are considered prohibited. Why? Someone might ask, say the Prophet ﷺ said, don't drink in it and don't eat in it. So why are we saying all of it is prohibited? Because the Prophet ﷺ said, فَإِنَّهَا لَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا. It's for them in the dunya and for you in the akhirah. What's for them? Eating and drinking? No. Yeah? Generally speaking, gold and silver, okay, ought to be avoided. Generally speaking, gold and silver and chilling and relaxing whilst using gold and silver is for them. It's not for us, the Muslims. It's for us in the akhirah. May Allah make us from the people of the akhirah. May Allah accept us from the successful Yawm al-Qiyamah. Because of the hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, do not drink from gold or silver vessels and do not eat from dishes made of them, for they are for them in this life, for them, i.e. the disbelievers, and for you in the next life. For you in the next life. وحكم المضبب بهما حكمهما إلا أن تكون يسيرة من الفضة. The ruling of vessels soldered with them or plated with them with gold or silver is the same. Okay, the same ruling applies. Doesn't mean it has to be pure gold or pure silver. Even plates or cups and so on that are made from gold or have gold in them, the same ruling applies. They can't be used. Or plated with real gold and silver. Okay, again, they can't be used. As for the color of silver and the color of gold, these are fine because they're not gold and silver. Okay, they're not gold and silver. Silver ones, for the most common color, for example, for spoons and forks and so on today is silver. But it's not real silver. Generally speaking, it's not real silver. And that's fine. Okay, unless it is with a small amount of silver solder. Now, the exception, one of the exceptions also, is using tiny amounts of silver to fix a cup, okay, or a plate. Alhamdulillah, now we're blessed. If we break a cup, we have a new one. We buy a new one, or we already have some already stored, ready for us to use. But if a person had a broken vessel and they wanted to fix it using small amounts of silver, then that would be okay. ويجوز استعمال سائر الآنية الطاهرة واتخاذها واستعمال أواني أهل الكتاب وثيابهم ما لم تعلم نجاستها. The author says, rahimahullah, it's permissible to use all other pure vessels and possess them. Yes? So using all other pure vessels is permissible, even if they're expensive. Because who said prohibiting gold and silver is because they're expensive? Some types of metals, some, plates and spoons and forks that are not made of gold or silver can sometimes be more expensive than silver spoons. Yeah, certain metals are quite expensive. Certain diamonds, they're all expensive. Okay, but they're not mentioned in the hadith, and so in this case, they don't take the same ruling. They don't take the same ruling, and Allah knows best. And that's the madhab of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala. واستعمال أواني أهل الكتاب وثيابهم. It's permissible to use the vessels and the utensils of the people of the book, and they are the Jews and the Christians. They're the Jews and the Christians. And using their clothes is permissible also. So if a Christian gives you a plate, okay, or you're sharing accommodation with a Christian or a Jew, then sharing plates and cups is fine. Yeah, it's fine. Unless you are certain they are najis. Yeah? The author says, مَا لَمْ تُعْلَمْ نَجَاسَتُهَا. So long as you're not certain of its impurity, then it's okay. وَصُوفُ الْمَيْتَةِ وَشَعَرُهَا طَاهِرٌ. Similarly, the wool and hair of dead animals is pure. The wool and hair of dead animals is pure. And these are referring to the animals that are pure. Yeah, so this ruling refers to those animals that are pure in life, such as the cow and the sheep and so on. Their hair and their wool and so on is pure. We're talking about those animals that die without being slaughtered for food. Yeah, so for example, a sheep is found dead in the middle of a farm without having been slaughtered. Is a sheep pure in life when it's alive or not? It's pure, and therefore its wool now would be pure. On the other hand, a pig is najis. So if we find a dead pig, we don't say let's take its fur and use that because it's pure. No, it's impure. It's impure. So when we say it's pure, we're talking about the animal that was pure when it was alive. The author then says, rahimahullah, وَكُلُّ جِلْدِ مَيْتَةٍ دُبِغَ أَوْ لَمْ يُدْبَغْ فَهُوَ نَجِسٌ وَكَذَلِكَ عِظَامُهَا. The skin of any non-slaughtered dead animal, whether it has been tanned or not, is najis. It's impure. And so are their bones. And this is the madhab of al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that whether you tan a dead animal's skin or not, it is najis. Whether it's a sheep, or a cow, or a dog, or a pig, or a fox, or a lion, or a bear, whatever it is, tanning it has no effect. Yeah, because Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal considers all the narrations that were narrated that talk about tanning an animal, he considers them abrogated. Yes, it was originally the ruling, and then later on, that ruling was abrogated. Yes, that ruling was later on abrogated by an authentic hadith, very, very late, just a few months before the death of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the opinion of Imam Ahmad and several other scholars also. It's the madhab of Malik as well, to the best of my knowledge, if I'm not mistaken. But it's certainly the opinion of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. And we have a second narration in the madhab that pure animals, if they're tanned, their skin can be used. So now a dead sheep, according to that madhab, if we see a dead sheep, can we take its skin and tan it? The answer is no. Okay, it can be done, but it's najis still. Yeah, it can be done, and there are uses to it, but it's still najis. Okay, it's still najis. If we find a dead sheep, according to the second narration, and we tan it, does that have an effect? According to the second narration in the madhab, it has an effect. It purifies it, and we can then use it. طيب, finding a dead fox and tanning its skin has no effect, not according to the first narration, nor according to the second narration. Yeah, and so this is important to keep in mind, because a lot of material today, clothing and maybe wallets and that kind of stuff, comes from dead animal skin being tanned. Foxes, pigs, and so on. Yes, it's a matter of difference of opinion, but according to the madhab, the person needs to avoid these things. The author says, rahimahullah ta'ala, وَكَذَلِكَ عِظَامُهَا, similarly its bones. All dead animals, their bones are also part of them, and so they're najis. وكل ميتة نجسة إلا الآدمية وحيوان الماء الذي لا يعيش إلا فيه لقول رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم في البحر هو الطهور ماؤه الحل ميتته. And every dead animal is najis, except the following. When we say dead, this is important to point out and keep in mind. When we say dead animal, we are not referring to one that has been slaughtered in a permissible way. We're referring to one that's found dead, or we're referring to one that's been killed in another way, okay? That's the dead animal that we're talking about. All of them are najis, whether it's a sheep or a cow or a dog or a bear or a lion or a zebra, whatever it is. All of them are najis. إِلَّا الْآدَمِي. This is the first exception, except the human being. A dead human is pure. وَحَيَوَانَ الْمَاءِ الَّذِي لَا يَعِيشُ إِلَّا فِيهِ. Similarly, the animal of the sea that only lives in the sea. That only lives in the sea. They are pure also. Fish, shark, whales, whatever it is. Those animals that live in the water and only live in water are pure. They're pure. When they're dead, they're pure. Okay, when they're dead, they are pure. We're not talking about the animal that sometimes lives in water and at times on land. This one might be pure and it might not be pure. But if it only lives on land, then it's pure. Because the Messenger ﷺ said regarding the sea, هُوَ الطَّهُورُ مَاؤُهُ الْحِلُّ مَيْتَتُهُ. Its water is pure and its dead is permissible to eat. وَمَا لَا نَفْسَ لَهُ سَائِلَةً. And that which does not have blood. إِذَا لَمْ يَكُنْ مُتَوَلِّدًا مِنَ النَّجَاسَاتِ. As long as it did not emanate from impurities. Okay, such as worms and emanating from dead creatures or feces and that kind of stuff. These are najis, even though they don't have blood. When we say they have blood, meaning they don't have a blood that runs. Okay, they'll have. You might squeeze a fly and you'll feel wetness. Okay, you'll still feel wetness, but we're talking about blood that that spills and that runs. Small insects, ants, and bees, and flies, and the sort, and tiny spiders, etc. All of these are pure. They're all pure. So long as they don't emanate from impurities, such as worms that emanate from feces, or that emanate from dead creatures. These worms would be najis, because their origin is these impure animals, or impure feces. طيب. For now, we'll leave it at that, inshallah, and we'll continue next lesson with Babu Qada al-Haja, the chapter of using the bathroom. Wallahu a'lam wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.